get that. I know what it's like every day wondering, maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe I'm an out-of-control egomaniac that thinks I have some influence on things. No, don't ever go down. Those are the lies from evil. That's the whispering of darkness. Don't believe those. Understand, you are George Washington, and George Washington never waited for a majority. Americans' colonies, we were not bent on war. We didn't want war. We know from history that what happened was 1/3 of America said, I'm with the king. 1/3 of America said, I'm with Washington. And 1/3 of America said, I'm with the winner, whichever one that is. But out of that 1/3 that agreed with George Washington, not all of them were willing to stand. Not all of them were willing to fight. In the end, it came down to 8%. 8%. Those were the only ones that stood. 8% of people who were untrained. 8%, those were the people that went to church. They were led most times into battle by their pastors. Those were the ones that were saying to their pastor, I can't shoot first. Don't. The Lord doesn't want you to shoot first. It was 8% that changed history. That's the experience of America. We're not at our best when we wait for a majority. That's not when we get good. We're at our best when we're united against and for a just cause. When we stand for something of beauty, of power, of magnificence, something beyond the individual. When the Tuskegee Airmen, when they first came in, the Tuskegee Airmen, they were given shoddy equipment. They were given absolutely the worst planes. They were given insufficient training, and yet, out of all of that, they were the most feared fighters in the skies in World War II. Everyone counted them out, except for themselves and the enemy. They did more damage in World War II than any other air wing in the war. That is how America works. We don't wait for the ideal conditions. We don't wait until we have the perfect tools, until we have superior numbers. When we're united in a just cause, we move, and we move unlike any other people the world has ever seen. The enemy today must start to see us united against evil. And that evil today is ISIS. It's wherever evil lurks in the shadows, wherever evil goes undetected. Evil hides every single day. It hides. And it starts with the little things. And you see it and you dismiss it. And then it builds to the bigger things. It conditions us to live with it. It's how you boil a frog. Remember that episode on Fox when I boiled a frog? Peter was so pissed. I mean, not that the frog wasn't a little upset about it. You put a frog in cold water, and you turn on the heat, and you slowly boil it. And the frog is supposed to jump out. That's the way it works. That's what it really happens, unless it's a rubber frog. That's how evil works. It conditions us to get used to new moral rules. I'm telling you, if some of the stuff that has happened in the last 6 months would have happened 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 4 years ago, this country would have gone insane. But it has conditioned us to live side by side with evil. That's what the Nazis did when they came after the disabled. They came after the disabled first. They knew, they figured out, if I can kill with a family's permission, I can walk right into their house and put my feet up on their sofa and relax and get comfortable. I can stretch out a bit. And that's when the real work begins. That's when they start to pick off everybody else. Dachau was the first concentration camp. It wasn't built for Jews. Did you know that? Dachau wasn't built for Jews. It was built as a prison camp for political enemies. After they finished with their political enemies, then they picked on the Jews. Then they started with the gypsies. Then they started with the homosexuals. The scale grew bigger, but the idea was exactly the same. Some lives matter more than others. The prison camp guards were always trained at Dachau. That's where they learned to go dead inside and commit evil. They could commit evil and close those gas chamber doors without flinching. That's where they were trained to kill without conscience. And it all started with the disabled, the unwanted. And when nobody spoke up, they went after the unloved, the ones who were resented. And no surprise, nobody spoke up again.